He said, I said, he said, damn it, I keep giving it away. But the quote was, since I already started, uh, I just lost my spot. I'm so sorry. This is so fucking crazy. Um, it says during a hurricane briefing, which occurred early into the first year of the presidency, Trump allegedly said, hurricanes start forming off the coast of Africa. So they're moving across the Atlantic. We drop a bomb inside the eye of the hurricane and disrupt it. Why can't we do that? Okay.
Now, I will say that is allegedly.
You said allegedly. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly said by multiple people. But there's, I love it. Okay, so anyway, which one is fake? As I date the daughter, fingers are long and beautiful, nuke a hurricane.
I guess I will have to go with number 2, fingers so long and beautiful.
And trick question, they were all real quotes.
Okay, I thought so.
They're all real quotes. He did say that he would date his daughter. What type of nasty mofo says some shit like that? There's no joking about that. Like, that's nasty. You're a man with 3 daughters. Would you ever say, "Oh, they're so beautiful, I would date them"?
No, I can say I definitely would not.
Nope. I don't think any normal person would say that. Fingers long and beautiful. Whatever. That's just silly. And grab him by the pussy. I mean, that's just, I can't even go into that. It's just so when I read these, when I was looking these up, I was like, did he really said that? I'm just like, this is, and I've heard him say some of these, like even the one where he said, sweep the forest. You could stop fires by sweeping the forest. I was like, Jesus H. Christ, man. No wonder COVID is going crazy in this fucking country.
Now, see, so for everybody on out there, as Colonel Wilkinson, we have what's called Uniform Code of Military Justice.
That's right.
UCMJ, which forbids any, soldier or officer especially, from speaking ill of the commander-in-chief, because Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief.
That's true, he's the commander-in-chief.
With that said, Dominick Wilkinson. Now, you and I, Carlos, we've dealt with Donald Trump for decades before he decided to run for office.
Oh, just any people that live in New York, in the city.
And New Yorkers, anybody in the tri-state area knows what he's all about. Okay, so yeah, I would say these things are surprising, but knowing what we know for the past decades, then it's just as he was quoted saying, it is what it is.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm gonna go off into tangents then, since you can't speak on that, and I understand. I probably shouldn't even brought it up in the first place, but just it's what's going on right now, and you can't help but talk about it. It's like, so the dude catches COVID, then says, I'm clean, I'm cured. Now, he's like, I must be immune, or, like I'm super, I feel better than I did before, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, 74-year-old man. Now, that brings me to a lot, what we started talking about this prior to this recording, is you and I talked about, you live in Florida, and then you caught COVID, and your whole household got it. Mm-hmm. So as we were talking about that, I was like, we have to do this on an episode. I have to ask you questions about catching COVID and what that experience was like for you and your family. And even to the point where, like, how it even happened. Like, how were you able to backtrace on how you guys ended up with COVID? So we'll start with that. Question number 1 is,
go for it.
Is how did you guys first catch COVID?
My daughters were at a family member's house, and the family members had to have a plumber come on over. Well, that plumber came on over, didn't have a mask or wasn't wearing gloves or anything like that. So when he left, now remember, it's extremely contagious. It can live up to certain surfaces for a certain amount of time. My man, Dr. Fauci, has pretty much confirmed that. Now, I will listen to him in a heartbeat. You know, one, he's a New Yorker too, so you know, you know. But apparently, he left some traces behind, or you know, and my daughter and my goddaughter caught it first, and then from there.
Now they were up in Georgia, right?
They were up in Georgia, but once they started getting sick, I drove back on up there and picked them on up. And let me tell you something, brother, that was the longest drive back because they all was throwing up in the car, so I would have to pull on over so they can throw up. And yeah, it was bad for quite some time. So Nivea and I, we're not gonna let our daughters go through this alone. So we threw caution to the wind, and we nursed them back to health at risk of our own health, which is what we do as parents. And my wife and I contracted it as well. And that was the longest, good Lord. I do not wish that on anyone. But I will say, I could see how it would get away from somebody. You can go from 0 to 60.
Okay, so before you get into that, let me ask.
Okay.
Let me ask a couple questions about how is it that you what did you experience when you first? So the girls were sick. Were all three of them? Because you have 3 daughters. Did all 3 of them get sick with the same symptoms?
That's the weird part, though. My oldest threw up everything that she had. My youngest wasn't throwing up as much, but she had fever and chills to the point where her whole body's shivering.
Now, how old are your kids?
My oldest is 18. Then I have a 16 going on 17-year-old and an 11-year-old.
So the ones that got the sickest were the 11-year-old and the 18-year-old?
Correct. But my middle child, she was more asymptomatic than anything else. She got sick just for a little while, for like 24 hours. And then that was it. But she did come up positive on the test. So she's walking around with it, but she does not have the same effects as my other 2 daughters.
Wow, that's crazy. So,
oh yeah.
So during that time, now when you guys finally got it, how long did it take for you guys to get it after you brought your daughters back home?
Let's see. I brought them back home on a Sunday. By that Thursday, so about almost four days later, I started coming down with symptoms. And so Nivea started coming down Wednesday. By that next Monday, man, I couldn't even think. I could barely drive home. I remember sitting at a stop sign, and I literally cannot decide on right or left. And then when I decided to turn right, it was like I had to push my body into making these decisions.
So you felt like it affected your brain, not just your body, and not like a regular cold or a regular flu. It affected your body and your brain, the way you thought?
It did. Now, this time was a little worse. I will say that, and I contracted it in March, because when I came down with it, I was like, this is not the flu. And when I went to the doctor, they couldn't tell me what it was, what's going on, except that. Say again?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay. They can tell me what it was, except that you don't have the flu, you do not have strep throat. It's just a little bug. Well, that bug put me on my ass for about a week and a half.
So this is prior to your daughters getting sick.
Correct. This is way prior to my daughters getting it, but this is when we started hearing more and more about it. So luckily, that's when we lived in our house. And as soon as I started getting a little bit sick, Nivea said, "Nope, you're confined to the room." I had my refrigerator in the room. I had my meals delivered by door, and so no one else got it in the house.
And how long were you sick that first time?
The first time, about a week and a half to 2 weeks.
But
and
did you get tested for coronavirus at that time, or they didn't have tests available?
They did have tests available, in which I had to literally fight and pull rank to get. But that's back when they shoved a huge Q-tip up your nose and stuff.
I've had it done 3 times. I know what it's like. It is. I'd rather have my prostate checked than be checked for coronavirus. It's horrible. It feels like somebody's sticking a Q-tip a wooden Q-tip. Sorry, I'm saying that really loud. A wooden Q-tip into your brain.
Now that time they said, okay, well, I came up negative. But remember, this is right at the beginning where the test was. We was trying to perfect the test and whatnot. What I can say is that time in March when I got very sick, and that time after contracting it from my daughters were eerily similar, except that the second time was a lot worse than the first.
Well, I was doing some research prior to this conversation, and one of the things they found is that the amount of viral load affects how bad your symptoms are going to be. So if you just get a little bit of the coronavirus and from, let's say, like a countertop or something like that, you may get really sick, but it may not last as long. I may not be deathly ill, but if you come into a contact of a lot, so you get more of that viral load, like for instance, being around your daughter in a car for a long period of time, then being around your wife for a long time, and then being, around the kids, even after that, not putting in that extra protection of. Did you wear a mask when you were taking care of the kids, or no?
Yes, we did wear masks, but we came and we had gloves,
but you weren't wearing N95 masks though, right?
As a matter of fact, Nivea had ordered some. They didn't come till later on, unfortunately, but she sews too, because she's a jack of all trades, but she sewed masks and she took the HEPA filters from a vacuum cleaner bag.
I've seen that. Yeah, I saw people do that before. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, because we couldn't get those type of masks anywhere at the time. So you make do and try to make your own, but you're still coming in contact with people. That's why I give our first responders all the credit in the freaking world, because it is just, unfortunately, I've been to that hospital twice because of this, and I've just seen the amount of people in there and what they have to go through, and that's doing that day in and day out. That's got to mess with somebody's head.
Well, yeah, I think in New York, one of the trauma doctors that was dealing with a lot of COVID patients, she actually killed herself, and she was counted as a COVID casualty, just because it was one of those the extra effects of dealing with so much death and so many people dying on your watch. Like, it becomes overwhelming to some people sometimes.
Well, it's the same as when soldiers come home after 15 months of combat. Sometimes it's hard, especially when you're taking somebody out of a nice, cush environment and throwing him or her into an environment that has very little rationale, and it's not supposed to, and this is their life for the next 15 months. Yeah.
So I want to go back to how you were feeling and stuff. So then the girls got better, and you both got sick?
The girls got better after about 5 days, they were able to start